Welcome back to another edition, the 7th edition of the RTF Show. We are at the halfway point, basically, of the NFL season. We'll see if that holds true, if they have to extend the season at all due to any of the COVID problems that are going on. But for all intents and purposes, we are at the halfway point. Brother John here with me as always. How's it going?
It's going very well. And yes, I'd like to say we're at the halfway point for two people in our league that will be making the championship. For everyone else, including me, we are well over halfway at this point.
Yeah, good call. This is really only halfway for a couple teams.
I've got 5 games left, if I can count. No, wait, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, I got 5 games left. I'm feeling good.
Well, enjoy them. You're going to enjoy them. I am here wearing my one of my most prized possessions. It is my favorite jersey from when I was a kid. This is my Randall Cunningham Philadelphia Eagles jersey, a player that I really admired, loved as a kid. Always fancied myself a quarterback, never really was a quarterback, was always actually more of a running back.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
I didn't pick that up. Yeah.
No, I was a running back, those big calves. I would pound the ball. But and as you can see, this guy saw some wear and tear. One half the jersey has been ripped off, but I am repping my Pennsylvania brothers and sisters tonight, hoping that they made some smart choices there.
Yeah.
We'll see.
One can only hope. I'm giving a little shout out to the Wisconsinites here, drinking some New Glarus across the country from Peter Kramer's parents. So feels good to have some Midwest vibes here after Wisconsin coming through, and hopefully,
exactly.
Assuming it holds up, but it's probably enough political talk.
Yes, let's move on. We don't need to get too in the weeds there. We got a big show for you today. We had projected to have or hoped to have a special guest on today. That won't happen, but we will pick one up off the waiver wire next week for a special guest show. For this week, we got a nice little segment in store for you. We're going to go through each division and the playoff prospects, what we think that division's going to look like. But before we do that, there were some big upsets in the league this past week. So let's take a look at the week in review. The Alpha Peters, long claimed to be the best team in the league, took one on the chin behind Pat Mahomes and the AJL squad. This was a big upset. And what was your takeaway, John?
We'll get into it a little bit more later, but Alec really needed to win this game, and his team showed up. Like you said, Pat Mahomes for sure. Mike Evans got him a touchdown, and like he's wanted to do, and Derrick Henry had a pretty good game, but just overall, no terrible games outside of Beasley. And Gesicki, but
I think that, Peter really suffered from both his backs, Henderson and Taylor. That both of them went out, right, at certain points in that game.
Both ended up injured, and he had Chris Carson sitting because of the foot injury. Nick Chubb is still on his IR. He's battling some injuries right now for sure.
He's banged up, but it's that time of the year,
Yep. And and Kittle went out too, so that was a big one. He had a lot of injuries, and we'll take a little look-see into his team later about these injuries and some of his bye week woes coming up. So,
all right,
hold on to your butts there, but this was not a good loss for Peter.
All right, let's move on to one other big upset. I pulled it up here on the screen already. Kelly needed to win to stay in it, really. 2-6, you're down there with the Destroyers in Never Never Land with no shot. But she is squarely in the mix now with the 3-5 record. And we'll touch on, just what kind of shot she has in a little bit. But huge performance from Dalvin Cook. I mean, enormous, 163 yards, 3 touchdowns, 63 receiving yards. He
had a receiving touchdown too, I'm pretty sure.
Did it? Yeah. I mean, this was what won her the week, and she really needed it. And after, a big Devontae Adams performance again, he had 3 touchdowns this week. She was able to overcome that with a powerhouse performance from Cook.
A scrappy play with Corey Davis putting up 120 yards, touchdown to essentially match Adams's 3 touchdowns and 53 yards. So never thought I'd see Corey Davis do something as well as he did there, but
the Titans fell behind there and against Cincinnati, and Derrick Henry, kind of got written out of the game for a little while, just because of the way it was going. So these will both these games, Kelly's win, Alex win, will have some playoff implications that we will get to later. But for now, let's take a look at some news and notes. So around the NFL, big story this week, we've got just about every Packers backup running back on the bench in the COVID little bubble. Hopefully for Charlie's sake, Aaron Jones comes back. Otherwise, he's going to have a hard time fielding a team.
I'm not sure he's going to be able to field a team at the moment.
We'll see.
He's without a tight end yet again.
Charlie, keep in mind you're legally required to field a team. So we'll make sure that happens to the best of our abilities. The other big news, besides the Packers situation, is who is going to play running back in Miami. Gaskin is likely out. Yep. What do you think? Who do you think is
so Gaskin's out. I think Breida also did not practice today. I think he's dealing with an injury. Even though, as we'll see coming up, Breida did get picked up on the waiver wire. But we
can jump up to that.
Yeah, why don't we bring that up? Take a look at him and see what his injury.
So Breida did not practice today. You're correct. I think it's possible he plays this week. A hamstring, those soft tissue injuries, you never know. But we'll see. We'll probably find out more soon. Breida, the guy that I think most people thought was going to start in this backfield to start the season. And then Jordan Howard, the other guy back there, who's been a healthy scratch now for most of the season. Which I don't know, was a shock to me, that's for sure. I didn't think he was done, but we'll see. I did not think that he was that washed up, but
apparently so. And I mean, I think he's gonna play this week and have a significant role. I know that Miami also just traded for a third or fourth string running back from Kansas City, but because of COVID restrictions, he won't be cleared to play this week. So I think it's going to come down to Howard, and if Breida's could go, then Breida. Okay. But we'll see what Bears Truther picks up Jordan Howard in our league before the weekend. My money's on the average Peters, but
I mean, I might give it a shot. We'll see. So I think those were the two biggest concerns, right? That Packers backfield, what that's going to look like. We might get Christian McCaffrey back this week. It seems like it. He practiced in full today. So that's big news. Chris Godwin practiced today. For those of you that care, Mitchell Trubisky is dealing with an injury. He played 1 snap last week, ran for about 2 yards on a direct snap, and somehow injured himself. So get well soon, Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, weren't there calls this week to have Mitch take back the starting spot? I saw that around.
I believe Steve said it a couple weeks ago that the Bears were going to be coming into Green Bay with a 500 record, and Mitchell Trubisky would be the starter. I'd say Steve is on track. There's a good shot of that happening.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
And Dante Pettis was traded, right, to
the Giants.
The Giants. So
yep. I mean, that's a pretty crowded wide receiver core now with Tate back, Shepard back, Slayton, Evan Ingram getting seemingly a god awful amount of targets for the stone hands that he has. But the only other thing that I would say, just reminder, trade deadline is 2 weeks out. And speaking of waivers, someone, maybe it's me, but someone with a absurd amount of fab money, there's a number of you out there. Maybe make a deal with Steve and see if you can throw him some fab dollars for a halfway decent player. If we want to run through his team real quick and just point out, I know he pointed out a few players, but
yes, Steve highlighted a few guys this week, and I know there's quite. I mean, I think he said DJ Moore,
McKinnon, Hollywood Brown, Shark, and Lindsay. And so,
which all guys I wouldn't mind having on my team. I don't have fab money though. All right, so I'm sure a deal will get made at some point. The next thing on our list, we reminded you of the trade deadline, right? 2 weeks from today, the 18th of November. Perfect. Let's get to our special segment. So we are going to preview the division playoff picture for each division. We'll start with the Halas division, run through what may or may not happen. And I think, are you prepared, John, to give a projection of who you think is going to win each division?
Yeah, I think I am. Before we get into that, let's just remind everyone, since it's the first season, what the playoff situation or setup is. I can go through that real quickly. So 6 teams will make the playoffs, 4 division winners, and that will be overall record. And then if there's a tie of overall record, we'll go into intra-division record of those 4 games that you play, best intra-division record. And then if that's tied, it goes to head-to-head. And if you've split games with that person, it's head-to-head, 1-1, then we go to total points 4.
Yes.
That will decide the 4 division winners, and then we have 2 wildcard spots of best overall record for those that are not division winners. And for that, if there's a tie there, we do head-to-head record. If that either you didn't play them or I guess you wouldn't have played them because you only
everybody played. Everybody played everybody, right? Should have.
Yeah, I guess you would.
I think everybody played everybody at least once.
Okay. Then total points 4.
Yeah. Perfect. Cool.
Let's get into the Halas.
All right. Let's take a look at the Halas division. The Halas division made up Bill Boylan, the Hollow Earthers, me, your host, Michael, the Decatur Staleys, and Wings and Pizza, Josh Porter's team. Right now, Bill sits atop the division. He's 5-3. I'm 4-4. Josh is 3-5. The points 4 situation, Bill, a leader in the division by a somewhat narrow margin over Josh's team. I am in a distant third. They're down almost 100 points to Josh's team, yet somehow am 4-4, which is embarrassing. I think, what is the path here? Because right now in the division, Bill is 3-0.
Yeah.
So is there a path for me or Josh to make the playoffs here, or to win the division here?
To win the division, yes. I think for you it's going to be a little bit harder with the amount of points you've been scoring. But Josh is up there. He's scored a decent amount of points, and if he continues to put some wins together, I think he'll have a shot at getting to a record that would compete with Bill. Now, he won't be able to win the division, though, if he ties Bill or has a worse record. He's going to have to outright win the division by having the best overall record because he's 0-3. So he's pretty much done. You, though, are able to win the division if you beat both Bill and Josh in weeks 12 and 13. So as you see that, you need to essentially win out your games to ensure victory, whether that's
I think it's
tying Bill or winning overall.
I think it's pretty unlikely. I think Josh does have a shot at this. If we go back to Josh's schedule, he's got Kelly's team this week, which is on the rise, and he's got Alex's team coming up, but at the week after, two matchups that I think he has as good a shot at winning. I don't see why he couldn't win them. He plays Ken in 3 weeks, which probably his toughest matchup left on the schedule. We'll see the game against Charlie, who knows what Charlie's team looks like by week 12. And then he's got me in the final week. So I think, Josh has a real shot here at either running the table in the final weeks or going, 4-1. I don't think that a 3-2 finish is going to be enough for him to do it. Bill also gets to play me. So that's one win for both of them, most likely. But I think Bill probably has enough firepower to get through the rest of the season with only, 2 losses at most. So I don't think a 3-2 record is going to do it.
Yeah. No, I don't think so either. I think Josh does have an opportunity there to, if he does run the table, he might be able to take the division. And just going through his team week by week, he's through the worst of his buys. He only has to really deal with the Bears bye week coming up with Montgomery and Allen Robinson. And then otherwise, he's pretty much set. He's not going to have to deal with any big issues. The only one being Antonio Brown in week 13. And so...
Yep. And we'll see what, going forward, right? Chase Edmonds going to get some carries, it looks like. Who knows when Kenyon Drake, Kenyon Drake will be back at some point, but who knows what Mark.
Will he have a job, though?
Yeah, who knows what Mark Chase Edmonds leaves on that Arizona team. So I like Bill to win this division. I think Bill is the safest bet to win it. He's in front right now in both points and record. He's got the best record in the division. So I don't see any reason why Bill gives this up. If anybody's going to challenge him, I think Josh has an outside shot. I think I have an outside shot just based on my 1-1 record and the 4-4 overall record. All that, of course, weighs on one Michael Thomas, which we'll see.
I do agree with that. Bill does have a tough schedule coming up just with the people that he's playing. They are, I think, for the most part, the points leaders in our league.
Yeah, we should say Bill has Ken, the Alpha Peters, and the average Peters, and Kelly on there. So he's got a tough one. But I'm going to mark Bill down as my projection. Let's move on. Let's move on to the Ryan division. So in the Ryan division, sorry, let's go back to the standings here. Ryan division, we've got the Barracudas. They are way out in front in terms of points. For Steve, 975 points for nearly 1,000-point team already. He's 5-3, tied with Fitz, Brendan El Bambolero. Brendan's got 800 points, significantly behind Steve, but they've got the same division record and the same overall record. Both 5-3, both 2-1 in the division. So still in the mix there. Could be a toss-up. We'll get into who the final team in that division is. The Rose City Destroyers. You think they got a shot, John?
It's an outside one, but
yeah.
I know. Okay. I put it at like 700 to 1, but
okay. I would put it about there as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, this really comes down to the Barracudas and the Bamboleros playing each other, and they've already played twice. They won't play again this season, and they split the difference in those games. Steve came out with the first one on a high-scoring squeaker. He won 143 to 131 in that first matchup way back in week 2. And then Fitz knocked him off in week 5, 108 to about 80. So I'd say, despite what happened this past week, Steve losing to the Hollow Earthers, Steve's team has generally been pretty steady throughout. I mean, he's putting up monster weeks with a couple, kind of shits the bed in there once every few weeks, but really been consistent. Where do you see this going?
Yeah, I agree with you there. Just looking at those numbers, he's scored under 100 3 times out of 8, but then other than that, he's been over 130 points 5 times. And so when he's clicking, it is a scary team. It's
one of the best teams in the league.
He's gonna get Eckler back at some point, and potentially Mostert back to just add to that potent running attack. I think Steve's gonna take this division just based on what we're looking at here. But Brendan does have an outside shot. His schedule coming up is pretty juicy, I would say, overall, outside of Peter and then potentially Kelly too. Alex in there, but we'll see about that. But as far as if they end up tied, it's going to come down to the intra-division record, as them being Steve and Brendan and Fitz. Not me, but I do have the opportunity to play a little spoiler if I can squeak out a win in either week 12 or week 13 to have an effect on the standings there, because they both beat me at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, so if you could take a victory off Fitz in week 12 or Steve in week 13, that has the potential to play spoiler for one of those teams. I think the other thing to note, they have actually almost the exact same schedule going forward. They play except for Fitz plays Kelly in week 13, and Steve plays the average Peters in week 12. But other than that, the other 4 games are the same. They each play Charlie's team, the Alpha Peters, Alex team, and the Rose City Destroyers. So there's an equal shot there. Now, if I'm going to make a pick, the pick is going to be based then, since the schedule is pretty much the same, I got to base the pick on the better team, and the better team is clearly, on paper at least, and I think in the scoreboard, Steve's team. And,
yeah, definitely.
It's got, Steve's got a lot more depth. I think depth is the thing that's really going to hurt Fitz down the line. So I do like Steve to win this division.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think he's, like I said last week, I'm not going to go against Steve ever again on this podcast, and I'm going to go ahead and say he's, his team is great, and I am.
Well, yeah, I think one issue for Fitz, just looking at his team, he's got Brady, Robbie Anderson, and Christian McCaffrey all have bye weeks in week 13. That was it week 13? He's playing Kelly, which could spell a loss there.
That could be it.
That could be the deciding factor. All right, so we're both taking Steve, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to there. I mean, I would love to pick myself, but I feel like we'd lose all credibility on this podcast.
Why don't we just each take ourselves? I'll go back and take myself in the Halas division.
Okay.
Okay. All right. No, we'll stick with our original projections. Let's move on to the Lovie division. The Lovie division. So the Lovie division is comprised. Let me get back to it. Sorry. The Lovie division is comprised of the two Peters, Alpha, Average, and Alec, AJL. The Lovie division is the most competitive, I think, division at this point in the season. Everybody in the division is over 800 points. Everybody has a 500 record or better, and that is the only division you can say both of those things about. So it's very competitive. There is one team way ahead at the top in terms of points. That's the Average Peters. He's at 1,000 points already this season, first team to 1,000. The Average Peters are behind at 880, and Alec is about 60 points back from there. John, where do you see this going?
I mean, it's hard to ignore the Alpha Peters dominance, up until last week, taking a loss by Alec, and the injuries that we pointed out that happened to him last week are definitely of concern. And this one does seem a bit wide open, more wide open than other divisions to me. And let's see here.
I agree with you.
Yeah, Alec has a great shot at this. He could take the division, if he has the best record or tied for the best record and he's going to have to beat both the Alpha Peter and the Average Peters in weeks 12 and 13. And so Alpha Peter will have the tiebreaker with Alec if he beats him in week 12. And so I think, Alpha Peter just needs to keep on doing what he's doing. The outside shot is going to be the Average Peters to me. He's just going to have to straight up win with best overall record. He is not going to be able to win with a divisional tiebreaker.
Yep.
And so that's where it gets a little iffy.
Here's what I'm seeing. The Alpha Peters, I think, the Alpha Peters would be the odds-on favorite to win this division.
Yep.
But I'm going to go with the Average Peters to win this division. And when you look at the schedule, there's two names that really stick out on this schedule that the Average Peters get to play that the Alpha Peters don't get to play. Well, the Alpha Peters don't get to play one of them. You're on that list, John. The Average Peters get to play the Rose City Destroyers this week. That should be a win for the Average Peters. He then gets to play the Decatur Staleys in week 10 another matchup that he should probably win.
I would say he's
imagine
there. Yeah.
And then he's got the Hollow Earthers, the Barracudas, and Alec. Whereas the Alpha Peters, they've got me this week, a matchup I think they'll definitely win. But then he's got the Barracudas right after that. And the other team that he plays is Brendan El Bambolero. And I don't know that that's a definitive, he plays him in week 11, which is a week that, Fitz pretty much has his whole team intact. The only person he's got on a bye in week 11 is Evan Ingram. There's no reason, barring some catastrophic injury or some COVID-related scares,
yeah.
I don't think there's any reason that Fitz can't beat the Alpha Peters that week. And in fact, week 11 is the week that George Kittle, should he come back, which I doubt, but should George Kittle come back, he would be on bye at week 11, but also Stephon Diggs is on bye at week 11. So I think there's a shot, and I'm going to take the average Peters.
I'm gonna go with the odds-on favorite there, the Alpha Peters. His team, if he can make it through these injuries, has I think the most solid team, a deep team, the deepest team, and is going to be able to keep stringing some wins along.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens here.
Yeah. I think the average Peters is a nice pick, though.
Well, it's going to be exciting.
Alec is he I think is the definite outside there. Looking at his team, it's a little bit, there's a lot of question marks, right?
Yep.
With Godwin and Evans, and how does Antonio Brown affect all of that? I think that's just going to throw even more of a wrench into his wide receiver core. Joe Mixon is still banged up. Oh, wait, I have Joe Mixon now. Sorry. He's still banged up, but looking at his team, he still has running back issues, and so
I don't. I mean, I like Alec's team to be competitive. I don't see Alec pulling this out though. He's relying pretty heavy on that Tampa Bay team with Edmonds and Godwin. And relying really heavy on Pat Mahomes, which, I mean, Pat Mahomes is going to put up a lot of points most weeks, but, the weeks that he doesn't, it's going to be a disaster for Alec's team. And the same is true with Derrick Henry. So if you get a week where they're both down, his team's going to have a hard time scoring points.
Yeah. And, it's been interesting with Pat Mahomes, too. Kansas City's just gotten up so big in a lot of games where you're getting about 2 quarters worth of Pat Mahomes, and then maybe the third quarter they're running it a lot, and then we've seen the backup. We've seen the backup come in for the fourth quarter in multiple games. So you're really only getting about 2.5 quarters of Pat Mahomes.
Yep. All right, let's move on. Ditka division, the Ditka division. Ditka is made up of Ken, Thoughts and Prayers, Ken Hoffman, football and stuff, Charlie Gorman, and Goman. Sorry, Charlie. Sorry.
Good. He's not around enough to know his last name.
And absolute fiasco, Kelly's team. I think so. Right now, this also a division with a lot of parity. 4-4 records for Ken and Charlie. Kelly's team at 3-5, but actually second in points at 900 points. And actually, overall, I think she's 4th in points. Am I doing that quick math right? I believe she's 4th in points overall. Ken is 3rd in points overall. So I think the one good thing that Charlie's got going for him is he's got the division lead in terms of division record so far.
The early wins.
But Ken has games left against both of those teams. So it could very well be that Ken takes that division record from Charlie. And
I agree with that. I'm also not entirely sure that, looking at both the direction in which Ken's team's going and even Kelly's team is going versus the direction that Charlie's team is going, division record may not come into play as much here.
I agree.
With the way that the way it's trending right now, and the Packers are in a world of hurt, so Charlie's team could be even further decimated and end up handing out a number of wins to other teams down the stretch here. Whereas, like you mentioned, with Ken and Kelly being the third and fourth most points scored, I'm not looking forward to facing either. I would not be looking forward to facing either of them.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the only thing that Charlie's got going for him is he plays in week 11. With that said, though, he's got the Barracudas this week. I don't foresee him winning that. He's got Fitz coming up the week after. I don't foresee him winning that. He still has to play Ken again. That's going to be a tough game. I think this is a two-team race, and I don't think Charlie is one of those teams. I think the other team is the dark horse absolute fiasco, who is going to end the season, I got to say, I think with a lighter schedule than the other two teams. Kelly's got Josh this week, followed by, she basically plays my division. So she plays Josh, she plays Bill, and then she plays me. And I think she's better than all those teams. And I mean,
I agree.
At least she can be better than all those teams. She ends the season against Ken and Fitz, and I think that Ken game, week 12, could be the kind of bellwether game that'll let us know who's going to win that division.
Yeah, I agree with that. Kelly, bookmark that Wednesday before. We'd love to have you on and get your thoughts leading up to that. And so, I definitely agree with that. Seeing Kelly on your schedule is going to cause nightmares for some people. She's has the fourth most points scored and the most points scored against. So, if you were to switch that around with with the worst person, the lowest points against, which is Fitz at 790, almost 200 points, I think Kelly would be sitting in a much better situation than she is now. So.
Yep. We'll see what happens with some of the players on Kelly's team, though. Beckham's out for the year. That is a loss. Le'Veon Bell's situation in Kansas City is very muddled. Probably going to be somebody who's either hit or miss every week. And then, she's going to rely, much like actually Alex's team, relying on Pat Mahomes and Derrick Henry to do his work for him. I think this team's going to rely quite a bit on Dalvin Cook and Lamar Jackson. So,
yeah, I fully agree there. Adam Thielen had a down week last week, but I think he's still he's not flashy, but I think he's a top 5-7 receiver in our league, in terms of fantasy at least. Even with Justin Jefferson there. But, Ronald Jones also had a very bad week last week. Yes. But that was the first time that, he's had a down week in the last 4 weeks. The last 4 or 5 weeks. That fumble, which, I'm not even sure was a completed catch, but they called it a fumble, a catch and a fumble, and he saw one snap the rest of the game. So, if you go back, if he goes back to his previous ways there with the 100+ yard games, I think she's gonna be in a great position to take some of these wins. But like you said, right? Like it's Dalvin Cook and Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson has been severely underperforming.
Yeah.
For Baltimore there.
Well, I think I am going to call this division for Ken. Thoughts and prayers, I think, is the one I'm going to have to call it for.
I'm going to go with Kelly.
Going with Kelly. All right.
Yeah, I've been kind of high on that team all year. I ranked her in the power rankings much higher than you did, and so I'm gonna stick to my guns there and think that she's got a bit of a opportunity there to take it down. So
that sounds. So here's where we're at. Just a review before we wrap up here. The Hollow Earthers ahead in the Halas division. We both picked them to come out of the Halas division. The Barracudas ahead right now in the Ryan division. We both picked them to come out of the Ryan division. The Lovie division, Alpha Peters on top right now. John, you went with the Alpha Peters, looking to see them close it out. I went with the Average Peters, outside shot there to see what happens. The Ditka division, right now, in terms of division record, Charlie is on top. Neither of us went with Charlie. We both went with two different teams. I, of course, with Ken's Thoughts and Prayers team. John going with Kelly's Absolute Fiasco team.
Yeah. It is fairly interesting. I just want to point out, like right now, if you want to go over to the current playoff situation, Ditka and Ryan are both sending two teams to the playoffs. The Blue Barracudas and Brendan El Bombolero, and then Thoughts and Prayers and Football and Stuff at the moment are all going to the playoffs. And then you have Alpha Peter and the Hollow Earthers. Now, what we designated as the strongest division, the Lovie division, at the moment is only sending Alpha Peters. I think personally that will change before the playoffs arrive.
I would agree with you there.
At least one of them going Average Peters and potentially Alec.
Yeah, I agree.
That would be the longer shot.
I think there's clearly one team in here that we both think won't make the playoffs, and I think that'll be replaced with one team from the Lovie division. I'm talking about Football and Stuff being replaced by either Alec's team or.
It's interesting. I could totally see it being. I could totally see it though being Thoughts and Prayers and Absolute Fiasco sneak in.
Very possible. Very possible. Kelly gets that last slot.
Sure. With Brendan El Bombolero is still in the playoffs, and he's got a good team so far. His differential though on points for versus points against is only 10, and it's pretty low, with the lowest points against on the season at 790 and only putting up 803 points. I could see that slipping a bit there and potentially letting Average Peters and or another team in as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think very possible. One
thing to note too.
Yes.
You're officially not the lowest point scorer.
Yeah, I know you are. I mean, I think it's possible we just bounce back and forth. Charlie might get in the mix there at some point as well. Possibly this week. So we'll see. All right, let's move on since we're at the 45-minute mark. We want to wrap up here. The previewing the next week. We won't go into any of the matchups. Is that all right?
Yeah, there's no divisional matchups this week,
Yeah.
and I think that's what we're intent on. Our intent is to focus on those from here on out, especially with what we just highlighted. The only look ahead besides the Survivor Island, you have a message. I have a message to deliver you from your Week 9 opponent, the Alpha Peter. He is a younger brother, similar to me. And has an older brother, much like you, and his words filled with hate and rage that come with years of resentment building up. He's going to say, "I'm going to fuck you up."
Perfect. I love it. That classic younger brother, way more long-winded than you need to be to say something that's just not true. So I love it, Peter. Bring it. I ain't afraid of no alphas. This beta is gonna lay whatever. You're gonna be able to smell the smackdown that I'm cooking you up.
Nice reference.
All right.
Let's Survivor update real quick.
Yeah, let's take a look at the Survivor standings. Last week, you chose Ken last week. That was incorrect. Ken put up a huge showing.
Huge game.
Destroyed me. We don't need to focus on that, though. Who was kicked off the island last week?
That would be Fitz, who
yes.
was so distraught over only scoring 65 points that he refused to come on the show today. So that was, an embarrassing showing, but let's welcome him to the party barge. And
welcome, Fitz. Yeah.
We're excited to have you.
Very excited to have you. It is a party over here, though I'm sure you wish you were still on the island. The pick for this week, you gonna double down on Ken? Where are we going?
I am not going to double down on Ken. I feel like that would just be too harsh. So just to recap, as we did in the text message thread, Alpha Peter's left, Josh is left, Wings and Pizza, Ken, Thoughts and Prayers, and Steve, the Blue Barracudas. We have 4 players left. This week, amusingly enough, I just delivered a message from him, and I don't stand behind that message. I am going with the Alpha Peter to be kicked off the island this week.
I love it.
He is on
fortunately, there's a good chance he could get kicked off the island and still beat me. So
that is possible. Yes, we forgot about that. That is a very good possibility. But he's dealing with some major bye weeks this week, and then questionable statuses from Jonathan Taylor, Chris Carson. Who knows if the Green Bay game's going to even happen with Robert Tonyan in his tight end spot. And he does not have much to flex to in terms of players if Chris Carson sits out. He's in a tough way right now, and we'll see. But he's my pick. So
nice. All right. Well, from the studios here in Chicago to the studios out in Portland, it's our pleasure every week to bring you the RTF Show. Yep. This has been another installment. Brother John, thank you for hopping on, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, it was great to do this again, and I just want to say, don't fuck it up, Nevada and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, let's go PA. All right.
Let's pull this one out.
Indeed.
Have a good night.